How's everyone doing today? Welcome back. I don't know why I said it like that, but anyways, let's keep going. So I haven't done a deck tech for one of my personal decks in a little while. So I decided I just re-updated and rebuilt an old deck that I used to run that I really loved. Wasn't exactly the most friendly of decks for people to play against. And this is not exactly a budget deck. I've been basically working with these cards for a long time, so let's get right into it. The deck I want to talk about today is one of my personal favorite lands deck of all times. That is Omnath, Locus of Creation. Now, I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys have seen Omnath decks. A lot of them are very similar. Pretty sure mine's very close to a lot of the other players are playing. I'm running a lot of the same cards. But I have a different kind of strategy, I would say, as to how I'm going to win. Maybe. Probably not. Anyways, I still like the deck. The deck is sweet. Omnath, Locus of Creation, for those who don't know, is a 4-color legendary creature elemental. He is red, white, blue, and green. So everything but black, which kind of sucks. But still, it's fine. He's still really good, really powerful. He enters the battlefield, draws you a card, and then he has a landfall ability that basically says the first time a land enters the battlefield under your control, you're going to gain 4 life. The second time a land enters the battlefield under your control, you're going to add blue, red, green, and white mana to your mana pool. And then the third time a land enters the battlefield under your control, you're going to deal 4 damage to each player, each opponent, and each planeswalker those opponents control. So he can be really solid. Ramps you, gives you life, and also deals damage to your opponent. Plus he enters the battlefield and draws you cards, which is really good, especially if you're going to be casting him multiple times in a game. You're going to be casting him multiple times in a game, trust me. The amount of extremely high commander tax I've paid for this commander has always been worth it. Anyways, let's get right into the deck. Before we do, just want to let you guys know, this is not a budget deck by any means. So, one of the big things you want to do in a deck like this, it's a lands deck, so you want to ramp. That's the whole point. You want to play extra lands, put extra lands on the battlefield, and take advantage of having all those lands. Now, how are you going to ramp? Well, you're in green, you're lucky, you get all the best ramp there is. So I'm running everything from Lotus Cobra, Azusa Lost But Seeking, Thrasios, Mina, and Den. So those are some of my key creatures right there that help me either get extra land drops, make mana when lands enter the battlefield, as well as, you know, get card advantage and lands off the top of my library. Now, another thing I do with this deck a lot is I like to quote unquote double my mana, which I'm adding in the ramp spot because I have a lot of ways to double my mana in this deck. Now, some of those ways are from like Zendikar Resurgent to Mirari's Wake, which also grows my team. Then you have Mana Flare, Heartbeat of Spring, stuff like that. Yes, the last two doubles your opponent's mana, but when you're kind of playing a lot more lands than your opponents typically do, you find that them being able to get the extra advantage off the more additional mana, typically you're already going to be so far ahead. So, and that's honestly when I cast those ones, is when I'm already pretty far ahead. I typically try to cast the ones that only benefit me first, because that's just the kind of player I am. And that's just what kind of ramp I like. So you have all these extra lands. Now, what are you going to do with them? How are you going to take advantage of the fact that you have so much additional mana or so much additional lands? Well, one of the things I like to do is I play cards like Titania, Excavation. I think that's how you pronounce it. Right here. Zurin Orb, cards that basically allow me to sacrifice my excess lands and either make tokens or gain life or draw more cards. Then I also do run, a lot of ways to take advantage of my lands entering the battlefield to give me more card advantage. Cards like Tatiova, cards like Ancient Green Warden, which is going to double any kind of lands entering the battlefield triggers. And then one of the probably best lands matters cards I personally think is a Shia, because turning all your non-token creatures into lands means that every time you cast a creature and enters the battlefield, it's going to trigger all your landfall abilities and you get to make a body. And then if those creatures die, you get to make a body off the like Tatiana or Titania, stuff like that. So having a lot of those effects that really care about you having a lot of lands entering the battlefield, lands going to the graveyard, stuff like that. There's Slowgrok in this deck. So stuff like that really does help this deck with returning lands from your graveyard to the battlefield, returning lands from your graveyard to your hand, stuff like that. It is really interesting the different lines this deck can take. And it's not just kind of pigeonholed into just going down one route. It can easily shift really quickly to different ways to win. Just want to let you guys know, if you like my content, please go ahead, hit that like button down below. It really does help out me know what kind of content you guys want to see in the future and stuff like that, and helps me direct where the channel needs to go. As well as if you do want to see more of my content, please hit that subscribe button. I try to put videos out, several times a week. Try to stick to my schedule. Not always happens, but anyways, I digress. And then if you want to be notified when I have new content come out, please go ahead and hit that bell icon down below. Does help out, helps with the algorithm and everything to make sure my videos get out there for everyone else to see. Thank you very much. Okay, so how are you gonna win? What is our win cons? Well, we're running pretty much the basic win cons you're gonna see in most lands decks. The biggest one here is Field of the Dead, because it's a land, it's hard to interact with. A lot of players stray away from land destruction, which in our favor, typically lands players, it works in our favor. Personally, I think players should probably play more land destruction, but that's just a different topic for another day. So Field of the Dead, you're going to be getting so many additional land drops from all of your additional lands per turn, playing all your spells that allow you to grab lands, stuff like that. That Field of the Dead is going to generate you so many tokens. As well as with the Shia, every time you cast a creature, it enters the battlefield, you're going to get a creature and you're going to make a token, which is really sweet. Then, since we're making a lot of tokens, why not run a Perforos? So I have Perforos in the list. So every time I make a zombie token, every time I have a creature enter the battlefield, I'm going to be pinging my opponents for 2 damage. Which doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're making multiple tokens a turn, it adds up really quick. Especially when you're running cards like Avenger Zendikar and making a boatload of tokens in one go. Sometimes you're, just casting Avenger on curve for 7 mana with 7 lands out. That's 7 tokens, including Avenger. So you have Perforos out. That is a boatload of damage. That is about 16 damage, I believe, in one go, because you have 2 per token. Yeah, about 16 to 18 damage, somewhere around there. I'm not the best at math, but I do know it's a lot of damage really quickly, and it adds up really fast. Then, of course, you're running lands matter deck. So why not run 2 of the other really good Omnaths, which is Omnath Locus of Rage. Make you a 5/5 elemental token every time a land enters the battlefield. And then Omnath Locus of the Royal. Every time a land enters the battlefield, you're going to grow on any kind of elementals, any of your elementals you have. We're not running a bunch of them, but we do have a good amount. So you get to grow your elementals, grow your tokens, grow your Omnaths, and then once you have 8 or more lands, which is real easy to get there, you're drawing cards every time a land enters. So there's a lot of value in your lands coming into play. I mean, the deck pretty much just wants to play a bunch of lands really quickly and get out really big threats and take advantage of the fact that we have a bunch of lands and that we're able to recur our lands fairly easily, to replay them and use them for other things outside of just casting our spells. So if you guys like this deck tag, let me know down in the comment section what you think. The deck itself will be down in the description. Like I said, it's not a budget deck by any means, but it's a really fun deck, and if you happen to have a good chunk of these cards or happen to have the funds to build a deck like this, I recommend it. It's really fun and it's just a really awesome deck. So let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. And as always, play more games!